maybe to an update to the numbers you gave, Debo. Today we manage 1.5 billion. We
Oh,
invested
sorry, my bad.
No,
it's not 1 billion, it's 1.5 billion. Okay.
It's the old figure.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of GFA-Attract. GFA-Attract is the video podcast from GetFundedAfrica, where we get the opportunity to talk to venture capital partners, entrepreneurs, and lots of people that help with investment in the venture capital space. Today, we have the big opportunity of actually talking to my good friend Yassine Oussaifi, who's a partner at AfricInvest Group. Just to give you a small background, AfricInvest was founded in 1994 and is part of the Integra Group, an investment and financial service company based in Tunisia on the African continent. It's uniquely positioned as one of the most experienced private equity investors in Africa. And AfricInvest has dedicated investment teams focused on Africa, employs 65 professionals based in 9 offices. AfricInvest manages over $1 billion across 14 funds and benefits from strong long-term support from both local and international investors, including the leading development financial institutions in the US and in Europe. AfricInvest actually co-founded the Africa Venture Capital Association, as well as the Middle East and North Africa Private Equity Association and the Euromed Capital Forum, among several other organizations that AfricInvest has supported and helped to establish. AfricInvest has invested in 135 companies across 24 African countries in a variety of high growth sectors, and maintains a broad network of high quality executives across Africa, offering extensive expertise in key growth industries, including financial services, agribusiness, consumer retail, education, and retail. And the whole team at GetFundedAfrica is happy to have Mr. Yassine Oussaifi, partner at the AfricInvest Group. Yasin, welcome to GetFundedAfrica-Attract.
Thank you, Debo. Pleasure, and thanks a lot for the invitation. And congratulations to you and the team for the GetFunded initiative. And really thank you for having me with you. And thanks for the introduction about AfricInvest.
Thank you, Yasin. Thank you, Yasin. Now, I know that in the introduction, I talked a little bit more about AfricInvest, but come on, behind every company is the person or the people. So please introduce Yasin. Who is Yasin?
Thanks. So my name is Yassine Oussaifi. I'm, as I said, partner in AfricInvest, and I'm in charge of our innovation activities, innovation fund. I was born and raised in Tunis, in Tunisia, where I did my high school, graduated from high school here, went to university in Tunis. After that, got the opportunity to study abroad. So I went to France, where I studied engineering, mostly physics. Once I got my diploma, engineering diploma, and MBA in France, I worked for several years in the chemical and energy space. I was between France and the GCC, so the Gulf region, mostly doing business development. My task at the time was to convince these big energy and chemical companies in the Gulf to build hydrogen pipelines in the deserts to make their operations more efficient and less costly. Very interesting, very multicultural experience, very rich.
That sounds very good. I mean, I just had to jump in there. So basically, from hoping from an engineer with an engineering background, and by the way, you're currently in Tunis, right?
Yeah, I'm currently in Tunis. I'm currently in our Tunis office.
Ah, I see. Okay, and of
Yeah.
course, AfricInvest is so you're in the HQ.
Yes. Yes. Invest our headquarters are in Tunis. And as you mentioned, we have today 9 offices. I mean, we cover most of the economical hubs in Africa. I mean, from Lagos to Cairo to Nairobi to Abidjan to Casablanca, Algiers. We also have an office in Europe because we also invest in European companies to help them develop on the African continent. Maybe to an update to the numbers you gave, Debo. Today we manage 1.5 billion. We
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No,
it's not 1 billion, it's 1.5 billion. Okay.
It's the old figure. We invested in 160 companies. We are 80 people. I mean, in the different offices we manage, and we focus on. It's important for us to have local people in all our offices, because that's the way we think we can bring value added to the entrepreneurs and to the teams we are working with and we're partnering with in our different offices.
Yasin, I just have to ask, and I'm coming back to this again. So, how did the engineer venture into venture capital?
Yeah, so after my my experience in the desert in Saudi Arabia, I moved to the investment space. So back in 2010 2011. I met with the AfricInvest team and came back to Tunis and joined the team that time to work on a local fund. It's an early stage and small cap fund that is focused on Tunisia. This fund is part of one of the families of fund that we have. As you mentioned, we have a big team and we have different investment strategies. Of course, we have our flagship private equity fund. We are today at the 4th generation. We have our North Africa funds. We have our financial sector fund that you mentioned. We have our innovation fund that I will tell you about more in detail as this is our discussion. We also have a private credit activity. So I joined firstly the team investing in early stage companies, tech enabled and non-tech enabled. So doing both. Then I did investment in North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa, a lot in the financial sector, and then moved to focus on the startup, on the innovation space, which is very exciting to me, and a lot of things are happening. Yeah, so this is how I moved from business development and engineering to investment, doing both private equity and venture capital, focusing on Africa, both North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I have to ask, of course, because most of the people who are listening in are entrepreneurs. You mentioned the innovation fund. Could you tell us a little bit about what the innovation fund is?
Of course, Debo. I mean, as AfricInvest, we've been investing in the innovation space for a long time now. I mean, recall that our first innovation fund we set it up in the early 2000s. That was different technologies, that was different times, but still we were focused on investing and helping entrepreneurs develop innovative ideas and bring innovative ideas to our countries. This first fund was a country fund. Since then, the VC space in Africa changed a lot, and the companies that we see on a daily basis on our desks are completely different. So today, on the innovation space, our strategy is to focus on later stage companies, to invest in these companies to help them grow and help them develop in Africa, to work with them, to help the entrepreneur that is sitting in Nairobi develop its activity in Lagos, and to help the entrepreneur that is sitting in Cairo go to Casablanca or to Tunis, and also to offer a wide network in Africa and outside Africa to these entrepreneurs we work with. So we work with the startups that develop technological solutions that are at the same time for Africa and that go from Africa. So technology that brings value addition and solutions to solve the socio-economical problems that we face on the continent. I have to mention that we are doing this strategy with a partner. We're partnering with Cafe Innovation, that is one of the leading venture firms globally, with operations both in Europe, in the US, also in China, and to work together to connect our entrepreneurs and our economical hubs in Africa with the global innovation hubs in the world, be it San Francisco, Shanghai, Paris, or London. So this is what we do and what we focus on today in the innovation space.
So basically, AfricInvest is not just bringing money. Essentially, you're bringing in the expertise for that company to scale in Africa, to also even scale in Europe, in Asia, in North America. Now that is very, very interesting. Just out of curiosity, is there any particular company that comes to mind that you found interesting that you could actually talk about? Any startup that comes to mind that you see lots of things happening?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just to confirm and what you said, Debo, what we want to do is really to bring more than money, and that's to help the entrepreneurs, and we are all in the team also entrepreneurs in our way, and we believe in the company, and we try to provide value addition to each of the teams and to create synergies between our different activities. I mean, if we invest in a company through our innovation fund, we try to have all the 8 people of AfricInvest think and try to bring value to that company we invest in. Startup. I mean, maybe one of our latest investments, company that is great and it's doing great things, and that is solving to our from our perspective a great problem today, and it's originated in Africa but globally. And this problem is internet access. I mean, as you know, today half of the world population does not have access to internet. I mean, and not having access to internet means not having access to all the digital services that comes with. I mean, from health, from education, different services. And this percentage of 50% globally is even higher in Africa. And today the main hurdle for the bottom of the pyramid population or the low income population to get access to internet is the cost of the device. So if we could bring internet to a device that costs less, to a cheaper device, then we will empower hundreds of millions of people that could access and be to internet and be included digitally. And so accessing, as I said, to the different services that comes with it. So that's what KaiOS does, and KaiOS, I mean, has built an operating system and an OS for phones. That is today the third OS globally. I mean, after Android and iOS, and this operating system allows feature phones, so cheaper phones to connect to internet. So we're I mean, working with this Bastien and the KaiOS team on their expansion in Africa. So, I mean, this is an example, and for me, great opportunity and great impact for Africa in Africa in terms of digital.
Yeah, I have a big smile on my face, of course, as you can guess. Also because of my affiliation with KaiOS as well, because I think it's amazing work being done there to connect hundreds of millions of people who today don't have access to the internet, and I think it's looking like about 200 million by the end of the year. So that's yes, I know what you mean. And kudos to AfricInvest for that investment. Okay, that was a segue I wasn't expecting, but yes, that was good. But generally speaking, though, what is holding back investment into Africa? Because I talk to yourself and many other venture capital firms, and they're like, well, there's actually a lot of money to pour into African companies and all that, but that number is still relatively low. What is holding back investment into African firms, into African ventures?
I mean, I think that for the last 5 years, I mean, pre-COVID, for the last 5 years, we had, I mean, great trajectory of growth I mean, even in the last decade. I mean, if you look at what happened in the venture space in Africa, I mean, we had a 40% growth year on year, the investment going to African startups. And that amount doubled between 2018 and 2019, reaching the 2 billion USD that have been invested in African VC in 2019. This is one thing on the figure, but on the more qualitative aspects, I believe that after the first phase between 2013 and 2018, where we saw this growth, but that most of the money was going to 3 sectors that are fintech, e-commerce, and energy. Today we started a new phase of development where we have more diversity in terms of sectors, and where entrepreneurs are solving more problems. I mean, initially, most of the entrepreneurs that we were meeting were solving, I mean, 2 big problems that we have in Africa, which is access to financial services. I mean, only 1 person out of 5 has access to bank account in the continent, and access to electricity. because 50% of the population in Africa doesn't have access to electricity. So I think that first phase is behind us, and today we have entrepreneurs that are solving problems in the agri space, in the education, in the health, and this diversification is great. Of course, most of these are still in their earlier stages, but they will grow. And this new phase, we also see more and more African startups raising big rounds, raising 50 million, 100 million, and 150 million round, which means that these companies are growing and they are developing outside of their region and even going to other emerging markets. I mean, same problems that we are solving in Africa, we are happening in Southeast Asia, in India, in Latin America. So it's great to see all these companies starting to make this move. So I think there is great progress. I mean, now still, I think what is needed is to have more investment coming to the continent, to have more LPs investing in African funds, and to have more commercial investors having more confidence in Africa, and for that, my opinion, I mean, I guess that we need more success stories, more African success stories. We need more exits, strategic exits, or IPOs that will happen and that will attract all these investors and give them more confidence.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just have to touch on what you just said, that we actually need to have more stories to actually share with the global world to actually attract more limited partners, right?
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, we need to have more stories and to make our success stories known to everywhere. I mean, in the US, in Europe, in China. So we have more and more interest in African startups and more LPs to invest in African funds. Still, I mean, a lot of investors from Asia, from Europe, from the US are looking to Africa, but I believe we can have more interest in the African VC space, and that the potential is huge.
Cool. So, what does a company as AfricInvest with $1.5 billion, how do they actually find how do they find companies to invest in? And of course, the second question is, what's the average size of check that you write? Do you just see a company, like the idea? Do you do early stage, or is it growth companies, or what exactly do you typically invest in, and what check size do you typically write?
So on our investment, I mean, we as a first investment, we invest a few million euros in each company, with the possibility to invest, to follow on after that in the future rounds. We invest cross sectors. I mean, we don't have sector strategy. We look at all sectors, and we believe that in any sector, entrepreneurs can bring new solution and bring value addition to users, either in B2C or B2B. We are, I mean, of course, Africa focused, so the African component is key for us, and we invest in companies that are African and going abroad, exporting. And these companies are pride for us as African to have a technological company that is coming from Africa that can sell its solution to the world, to Europe, to the US, or to Asia. We invest in African companies that are targeting the African markets. Of course, this is the part of the companies we look at. And we also look at companies that are non-African and that have a solution that will bring value to the African consumer. So we look also at these companies. So these are the three companies, the three typology of companies we look at. We focus on late Series A's or Series B as a core target for our investments. But I mean, we are always happy to discuss and to talk with entrepreneurs and get to know them. And sometimes we could even look at earlier stages within our investment strategy. How do we get our deals? I mean, it's either through our network. I mean, teams on the ground bring a lot of our deals. Cafe, also our partner, brings also national deals that come to us, that come to them. And of course, we have proactive approaches to look for companies that in the sector or that have been doing great things that we approach ourselves. So I mean, we're happy to always to receive the decks and to discuss with the entrepreneurs and try to help, even if we don't invest with each one of them.
So typically your check sizes are like $1 million up, and $1 million upwards. But I just thought it very interesting that you're an African company, and yet you actually also invest pretty much across the world in companies that actually also affect Africa. Out of curiosity, does the African diaspora play a part in this? So, for example, are there opportunities for investment of African diaspora, maybe doing things or having businesses that affect Africa or other parts of the world?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we have looked at many companies that have been built by African diaspora, both in the US, in Europe, not many in Asia. But yeah, we've screened a number of them. We had the discussion in different sectors, and as long as there is an African component, of course, there is an African component that the company is providing solution to Africa. Because we also had some discussion with African diaspora that is building a company or startups for the international market, for Europe, and that is not part of our mandate. Our mandate is really that the solutions and the funds go to develop the African economies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Yasin. We're going to go into the next segment, which we call Rapid Fire. And I usually say, don't worry, you're safe. And it's just a bunch of questions just to, get to know a little bit more about you and all. So, how do you unwind?
How do I unwind? Listen, I love water sports. So that's what
water sports, you said.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
nice.
We have a beautiful coast here in Tunis. So I do a lot of kite surfing. So on windy days, I on the weekends I go kite surfing. and if it's not windy, I have a paddle board, so I go paddle board.
Okay. What's your favorite sport?
Kite surfing. Yeah. Other than that, I'm a big basketball fan. I mean,
basketball fan. Any favorite teams?
Listen, I was a big fan of the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. But that was
during the Jordan times.
Yeah.
That's nice. And what kind of music do you like?
Different kind of music. I like some electronic music. I listen to jazz. I'm a fan of Brazilian music. So yeah, different kind of music.
That's nice. And what's your favorite book?
I don't know. Maybe the one I'm reading right now. It's an interesting one. It's a book about Bill Campbell. Uh, the book is called the Trillion Dollar Coach.
Uh,
Written by Eric Schmidt. And Bill is was a coach for CEOs and executives in the Silicon Valley. He coached Steve Jobs and guys at Google, at Apple, and it's about his advices and thoughts on how to build a tech company, how to balance between innovation and execution, how to make a good product. It's an interesting book. So I think it's also a very interesting book for the audience of this.
yeah. So
of this
everyone
book.
listening, $1 Trillion Coach. There you go from Yasin.
It was that easy.
Yes. Thank you, Yasin. I think what we'll do is we'll just ask, just before we go, two things. First of all, we'll ask, advice for GetFundedAfrica, as it's a social project, and as it continues to grow. What advice do you have for the GetFundedAfrica team?
I don't know. I think Debo and team, you're doing a great job. So really congratulations for what you're doing to reach out to the and to build this community of entrepreneurs, investors of African diaspora, and helping them with the advice and connecting them. So I think that's great. And I think the three important things that we all should try to do to develop more the ecosystem is to work on the very early stages and to convince business angels to invest in young entrepreneurs. So the more business angels invest in and help that young entrepreneurs to start the journey, the more of them start the journey, the more chances we see some of them will build unique technology or maybe ring the bell of an IPO or get some. So I think the start is really critical. Of course, after that, coaching and helping them, that's also important. And connecting, of course, building those bridges between Africa, within Africa, between the fintech entrepreneur in Cairo and the fintech entrepreneur in Rwanda, between the mobility entrepreneur in Abidjan and the entrepreneur that is targeting the same problem in Casablanca. So really connecting the entrepreneurs community within Africa, but outside of Africa with other community markets. I think that's a great thing that the African diaspora can help.
Yeah, thanks for the nice words, especially as just as you said, based on your advice, we kind of like focused on the very, very early stage, in fact, idea stage. So I think you'd probably call us, I don't know, micro VCs. And of course, as you know already, our model is then basically either to take the very early companies, grow them to a certain stage and pass them across to you, or look for those medium-sized ones and pass them across to organizations. Great. Do you have any advice for for entrepreneurs that are working, that are looking to start up, that are looking to get funded?
Of course, to look for for their product market fit, and to ask for advice, and to discuss with people around them, and to work with and to attract, a coherent team, and to work with smart people. I think that at this stage, what matters the most is the team and the problem they're solving in the product market they found.
Recruitment of smart people. On that note, Yasin, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time from your very, very busy schedule to actually log in and talk to us all the way from Tunis in Tunisia. Thank you so much, Yasin. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Debo, and congrats again for what you're doing.
Thank you, Yasin. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And on that note, we end this edition of the program and look forward to talking to our very next guest. Thank you for dialing in. Thank you for listening in. Bye-bye for now.